Hello, my name is Madison Jackson, and today we will be talking about Lyme disease. Lyme disease is a disease that is spread by deer ticks and that they carry the bacterium known as Borrelia burgdorferi. This disease affects the body's nerves, joints, and tissues. This disease is found all across the world, and thousands of cases are diagnosed each year. There are many ways to prevent this disease, and there are many medicines out there, and this disease is very treatable. Who carries this disease and how is it spread? This disease is carried by ticks that are infected by the bacterium Borrelia burgdorferi. The infected tick will feed on its host for a couple of days and infect the host with the bacteria Borrelia burgdorferi. So here is a picture of the stages of ticks. Here we have a small picture of a larva, which is the smallest stage that the tick will be in. And here we have the nymph stage, and when the tick is in the nymph stage, that is when the tick typically can infect the host with the bacteria. By the time the tick gets to the adult stage, they can't really give off the disease because by the time they're that big, usually the host will take off the tick, and it's not as easy for them to infect the host with the bacteria. Components of the bacteria. Borrelia burgdorferi is in the shape of a spirochaete, and spirochaetes are spiral shaped. And what's unique about the spirochaete is that instead of having a external flagella, it has an internal flagella, and the flagella on the inside is attached to the top half of the bacteria and the bottom half, and it rotates in clockwise and counterclockwise motions to make it more mobile. And this flagella is essential for the bacteria to survive, and it makes the bacteria easier to drill in tissues, and it makes it easier for the bacteria to flow through the bloodstream and throughout the body. This bacteria is gram-negative. It does stain pink, but with that said, the gram stain is very sheer, and more than half the time, you can't really tell if it's either gram-negative or gram-positive. So right here, here's a picture of the spirochaete. Right here you can see that it is in a corkscrew kind of shape, and you can see right here it's drilling through these tissues right here. And in this picture right here, it is a good picture of the endoflagella. You can see that the flagella is embedded within the bacteria rather than on the outside of the bacteria. Right here, this is a gram stain of the spirochaete. You can see the squiggly cell right here, and you can see that it is pink, but it is very sheer. It's a very sheer color of pink. The way that Borrelia burgdorferi attacks the body is that it relies on its host to get the nutrients that it needs to survive. Normally, bacteria already have the nutrients and enzymes that they need to survive, but in this case, Borrelia burgdorferi relies on humans and animals' nutrients for it to survive. The way that the bacteria survives is, we've already talked about the flagella, and then another way that it survives is that it produces a protein called OSPC. And OSPC is essential for survival of Borrelia burgdorferi because it gives it nutrients and it gives it a stronger power for it to survive. And the way that this works is when the tick bites a human or an animal, Borrelia burgdorferi produces OSPC. And then once Borrelia burgdorferi is infected the host, then OSPC is not produced anymore. So here we have a life cycle of the tick and Borrelia burgdorferi. So here it shows the full grown tick and that it lays its eggs, and the eggs are not infected with the spherochet bacteria, and then it grows to a larva, and that larva feeds on their first host, and the hosts are infected with the spherochays from previous ticks. So then the tick that wasn't infected is now infected because they fed off of the host. And then it grows to the nymph stage, which is the stage that is most likely to infect humans and animals. And then that is when the nymph attaches to the host of humans, animals, rodents, anything like that, and then the cycle continues. Signs and symptoms of Lyme disease. The symptoms vary on the severity of the case. The early stage symptoms include headaches, chills, muscle and joint aches, swelling in the lymph nodes, and erythema migraine rash. Now, I put a star by the EM rash because this symptom is the most, this is the most important way you can tell whether you have Lyme disease or not, because it creates a bullseye kind of shape. It has a red dot in the center, and then it has a ring around it, and I'm going to show a picture here in a second, but the EM rash is the most common symptom that you can have when you have Lyme disease. The late stage symptoms when the Lyme disease is more severe are severe headaches, arthritis, shooting pains, and muscles, joints, and bones. So this is just a picture of the signs and symptoms of fatigue, fever and chills, headaches, muscle and joint pains, feeling bad, the EM rash. These are a couple pictures of the EM rash. Here you can see that there is a red dot here in the center, and then it's kind of clear on the outside, and then there's a big red ring around, and the red dot is where the tick has bitten the host, and it can grow up to a feet and can spread all over the body. How do we diagnose Lyme disease? Doctors typically diagnose this disease by the symptoms. If you're having the typical symptoms of Lyme disease, then usually they can tell right away. If you have the EM rash, that's usually the biggest indicator. They also do blood tests, but blood tests aren't really recommended because this disease can be disguised as other diseases. They get confused with a lot of other diseases out there, and so blood tests aren't really recommended. The treatment for this disease varies. The early stages of symptoms, the early stage of this disease can be treated by antibiotics such as doxycycline and cefuroxime. And doxycycline can treat acne, UTIs, and intestinal inflammation. They also, for severe cases of this disease, they do intravenous antibiotics where they can attack the bacteria straightforward, so that you don't have to wait for you to digest it and then go into the bloodstream. You can just inject the antibiotics into the bloodstream through the IV. So here's a picture of the IV. This is a picture of doxycycline, and here's a picture of cefuroxime. Prevention. The prevention of this disease is very simple. You can avoid wooded or brushy areas, obviously like the woods or forest. You can shower regularly. You can recognize the disease early. So if you have the EM rash, if you have headaches, chills, fatigue, joint pains, anything like that, if you recognize it early, it's very easy to prevent severe cases of this disease. Wear insect repellent, when you go out in the woods or go to the forest outside, just wear insect repellent, and perform regular tick checks every now and then. You don't have to perform tick checks every week or every day. It's just after you go outside, or if you've been in the woods for long periods of time, you might want to, check yourself, because you never know where they could be hiding. Who does this mainly affect? This disease affects people all across the globe. In the U.S., it mainly affects the north central states, the northeast areas, and the west coast. And here is a map, and here you can see the north east is it has the most cases, and then the north central areas, they've got a lot of cases, and then the west coast, it's about a moderate level of cases. And here's my references. Thank you.